Hey everyone, so this is a follow-up to the first Jkoo or Sinosword review. So two things. First, the original blade that I had seemed kind of a waste to have a blade and a saya and not do something with it. So I sent it off to the Mystery Man in Black. I'm taking Matthew Jensen's term there. Sent it off to him to have mounted with a new Jkoo core and, in fact, the whole handle. I got some fittings. I got some Fuchi and Kashira from Tozando and also some Manuki from Tozando, and had these sent off to Randy, to the Mystery Man in Black, I'm sorry, and along with an Edo period Tsuba that I got on eBay for a decent price, and I just figured, make it useful, make it something that I can use, or something that at least can be sold if I don't like it. And it turned out really great, actually. The Mystery Man in Black's work on the Tsuka is very nice. It's pretty slim. He slimmed it down. There's a full Samigawa wrap. Although it is a side piece, I didn't want to go full hog and do, Emperor nodes or anything like that. It didn't seem kind of quite worth it. But there's a brown silk Ito, which I just told him to pick a brown that kind of matched the rest of the brown horn fittings on the saya and the sageo, and kind of the brownish tinge to the Samigawa here. And just kind of said, just pick something. And he did. So this is what it came out with. The Ito's pretty tight. The top of the folds, they move a little bit, but overall nothing moves out of place without really jamming on it. He did tell me that the Tozando Manuki cracked under the pressure of the wrapping of the Ito. And I see that here where it just cracked just a bit. He said they're poor quality, which, they're cheap, but I was hoping that they'd be a little bit more sturdy than that. The Samigawa, even though it's an edge piece, is pretty nice overall, and I can't complain about it. Now, I have used this for cutting already. It cuts really good. It's sharp. It cuts well. I'm doing real light effort. I think I kind of overswung that. Try one more. It's no problem. No problems. The Fuchi I got actually matches the transition for the Psyop perfectly. It's just a perfect match. So it ended up working out really well. Pretty happy with it overall. And it's not a real lightweight sword, but it's not a heavyweight either. It feels fairly decent to handle. He did do a new habaki, a copper habaki and seppa, and seems to suit it rather well. So far, the only minor gripe I have is it came back with a little bit of scratching on the blade that wasn't there when it went. I don't know where that happened or anything, so those things happen. No big deal. But this is the original blade that came with the funky Mune running off to one side instead of going straight down the center. And it's slight, but it's there. Now the blade, I don't know if you guys can see this, is pretty straight overall, and I don't remember if this had this when I got it. I just don't recall. But it's straight, and I don't think it's bent, but it looks like the metal's a little bit thicker about right here on the Shinogi. Right here, it's just a little bit thicker in one spot, so it looks kind of like an undulation. And it's just weird. I don't know. But anyway, one thing, and the replacement came in from Jkoo, Sinosword, whatever, however you say it. And first thing I noticed straight away was they fixed a lot of things, and I'll show you guys here in some pictures and hold it up here in a second, but they fixed a lot of things, and I just want to see if you can kind of hear this. You can kind of get a Hasuji sound, right? It's not very loud unless you put some effort into it. Now just remember that for a second while when I pull out the second one, the new replaced one, and show you some differences. Let me show you this real quick. So the bohi on this one is about a 1/4 inch shy of where the shinogi ends on the kisaki here. So just so you kind of note that. Otherwise, it's pretty good. Now, the second one came, the replacement from Jkoo, Sinosword, whatever. Now, I sent them back the original Tsuka, and I asked them in an email, I said, how's that going to work? How will you make it to where the new blade fits that? Because I thought that this was made for the blade, and they said, don't worry, they'll sort it out. Okay, sure. So anyway, when it came back, this was wrapped in plastic, and that's all I've done so far was unwrap it and just kind of handle it, and I didn't cut with it or anything. So this is in basically brand new as it came back condition. One of the things I did ask them for was I didn't really like the tsuba that was on the original one. It was real gaudy and kind of gross looking, and I asked for this this one instead. It's brass and it's more simple. I thought it looked better than the other one. So that, and I asked them to change the habaki because the habaki was a typical long quan China cast rainfall. It was pretty ugly, and they upgraded to this one instead, which is a little bit more expensive, I think, just because of the file work, but it's much nicer. It's a better fit. It's just a nicer piece. It doesn't look it looks like there's some handwork done to it instead of just being you know, a cast piece of junk. And the fit is really good to the blade. The other one was loose and wasn't that good, and that's why I had Randy just discard it and make a new one. But this one fits the blade perfectly. It's tight, but it's not so tight that you have to jam it on it. Actually, you know what? I take that back. I have not taken the habaki, the seppa, or the tsuba off because they were on there tight. I did take the tsuka off because I was curious if this was the original one. I haven't compared pictures, but I did notice that the Emperor node that was here is not in the same spot. So I took this tsuka off and I tried to see if the old blade would fit in it, because if it was the same tsuka, it would fit perfectly, but it didn't. So that means that they made a completely new tsuka, or maybe they made more than one at the time. The blade is much improved. I asked them to make sure the hamachi and munimachi are even, and they now are. The bohi actually goes all the way to the end of the shinogi on the kisaki. Well, you know, about 1 millimeter off. But the difference is just barely swinging. It makes a lot more noise, and I don't know if that's a byproduct of the bohi, the little extra difference on the bohi, or maybe the depth of the cut, or the blade looks equally straight with a couple little undulations here and there. You know, it's not a perfect, but the polish is just as good as the first one. It's really good polish. They did a good job. I mean, for the price, this is solid. I mean, it's solid. There's no rattle. It's made well. I gotta say, it's made well. The tang, the nakago on this one is longer than the original one too. The original one came out pretty far down towards the end, but this one comes out a little bit longer when I compared them but the overall blade is a little bit shorter than the original one as well. So I'm not sure the fact, and of course the Mune, the line of the Mune, I'm just now looking at that. It does go straight down to the tip. So, and that was really the only gripe I had with the first one. I just showed them and said, hey, look at this. I do notice that the Yokote is a little bit sharper line as well. So overall, I would say if you get a folded Sinosword full custom thing from Jkoo or Sinosword, just pick your fittings carefully so they're not so ugly. They do a good job, and their customer service, they communicated with me the entire time. He even let me know if there's any issues or whatever. They had good communication. I gotta say, it was not long paragraphs or anything. It was short, but they tried. And look, I got two swords for the price of one, basically. Yeah, I had to put some money into for the Mystery Man in Black to mount Jkoo on the other one, but the blade, there's nothing, I mean, other than it having some faults, it still cuts. I think I'm going to sell, well, I gotta sell one of them. I don't need it, but I'll probably sell this one since it's in brand new condition and hasn't been cut with. But I'll sell it real cheap, so if anybody's interested, just let me know. The silk is nice, a nice quality. And again, these diamonds are, I mean, the Ito on here is pretty tight. It doesn't seem as tight as the first one. It's still tight, but it's a good quality. The diamonds are small, so it makes this look much larger than it actually is. Let me compare it for you guys. Hold on. It's also, it does rattle a bit up there, but it's tight. It's not going to fall out. I could probably shim that, but let me just show you the differences here. Even the saya is in better condition. I can show you here the seam of the Samigawa on this original one is kind of ugly here. This one's very clean. It's actually a little bit bigger panel here too. Yeah, all of the saya work on this newer one is better, for sure. So anyway, here you can kind of see the idea of what I'm talking about. It's longer. It's not much thicker. It is a bit thicker. It's not much thicker, but this one is incredibly slim. But the diamonds are very small, so that makes it have a fatter look. But here's the difference in the two. And then let me just show you the blades side by side. And one of these has a bunch of oil on them, and one of them has been Renaissance waxed. But let me show you just the differences right there. So you see the old one is a little bit longer. Not much. Sori is a little bit different. So the sayas do not fit either. One blade won't fit in the other one's saya. So the sayas seem to be made more for each of their own respective curves. They're very similar in curve, but I think the newer one has a deeper sori, just slightly. Or maybe I got it backwards. Maybe not. Anyway, they're different. But pretty neat. The difference in the bohi is probably making the difference there in that sound. As far as it going up on the tip all the way, I'm not quite sure. I want to say the new one feels a little bit lighter. I'll need to measure them to make sure, but I think the new one has a little bit better of a taper. It's a little bit slimmer towards the tip. But that's it, guys. So, I gotta say that Jkoo or Sinosword makes a aesthetically pretty blade. The mounting is up to you whether it's doable or not. But for the money, it's not bad at all. It's definitely serviceable, and you can definitely cut with it. I gotta say the quality of of the blade polish is pretty nice. It's consistent between the two. The new one has a little bit more interesting of a hamon, but generally they're similar. I'd say that, you know, I have a Simon Lee that came in, and the Hana is quite different. It's hard to compare the two, but I would say the level of polish is very similar. It's real similar. I don't know if I'm just getting lucky or maybe I just don't know enough, but both of these are better than the Dragon King that I have so far, or the Dynasty Forge. Dynasty Forge is, you know, it's a good sharp blade, it's a cutter, but it's not aesthetically pretty in any way. This polish on both of these is pretty decent, I gotta say. So anyway, guys, that's kind of the story. They came through. They made a brand new blade. You can see here, they did what they said they were going to do. They made a whole new sword, basically. New saya, everything, completely new. It didn't cost me a dime. They even shipped it free. All I had to do was wait, and then I spent some money on getting this mounted with the Mystery Man in Black, but now I have two completely functional swords. I'll probably continue to use this and cut with it. It seems fairly resistant to scratching. I cut used Japanese tatami with it, and there's not a mark on it. Not at all. The edge held up perfectly fine. No bends. So far I'm impressed. You guys, for the money, this is hard to beat. Thanks for watching.